Welcome back, WNST, Taos in Baltimore, and Baltimore positive, despite the fact that the temperature's up and COVID's up in other places. We're staying calm around here, and I got my friends in Essex and Todd Schuler. We get together every once in a while. Last time we got together, we were discussing crab-eating techniques, I believe, in Essex. He, of course, is with Blondell, Miller, and Schuler, and former delegate and our pal, and more than that, like, fellow sports fan, right? Like, so now that we're through this 4th of July thing, and baseball has promised 60 games, and football has promised, I got to go back on Baltimore positive, Todd. I got to go back to doing sports, sticking to sports again, right?
Yeah, it'll be great. I mean, I can't wait. I got a neighbor that is a gigantic soccer fan and a neighbor that is a gigantic horse racing fan, and that is pretty much what I've been feeding my diet of, horse racing and soccer, waiting for baseball and football to get rolling again.
Well, golf and tennis have been going on too, right? So
golf,
I mean,
but I don't have those neighbors. I don't know. I mean,
well, and
I'm
the other
playing
thing
golf,
is,
but,
the other thing is, where is your attention, right? And I think for all of us, in any capacity, if we love sports in some way, or just like sports, right? Like, loving sports means I sit and watch the game every single night. It's that much of a part of my life, and that's who I am, right? I mean, that's how this whole thing happened, right? But for anybody out there that was a Sunday game watcher or a box score watcher, or when the Orioles stink, you don't watch it, but when they're good, you sort of do, or whatever, there still has been this heartbeat of what happened to the Terps. Lacrosse season, the Preakness. Let me get my Preakness pin out here. While I might keep the Preakness in Baltimore pin for you, Todd. But all of these things that have been rite of passage things, now we're through the 4th of July, and there was no Heritage Fair, right? I mean, all of these things are weird. Baseball's promising this little thing that's a little piece of what we had. Football's promising thing, basketball. And for all of us that have lived 6 months watching, my wife and I have fallen in love with Gordon Ramsay's Uncharted, right? Like, so we're 4 episodes into waiting on the New Zealand episode, just watching Morocco. So, like, we're doing things that aren't watching the Orioles or aren't watching Wimbledon or aren't, like, all of these, the All-Star game would be this week, right? So all of these things have been replaced by something. When this other stuff comes back, I'm interested to see who swims back to it quickly and what it feels like when you get there in an empty stadium, right? I mean, the soccer thing was a good maybe dabble in that, Todd, maybe?
I don't know. You fill your space with different things. I've been reading a ton. I hope I keep doing it, Like, I feel like I'm reading more than I ever have in my life. Maybe I don't jump totally back in, and
you went to law school,
right?
Like, literally, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think law school takes reading out of you. When you have to read constantly for your job and your degree, the recreational reading gets put to the side for a couple decades, apparently. But I'm kind of full bore back in. So, and a lot of sports books. You had said the rites of passage, and man, that was a dangerous Terps team. I would have loved to seen what they could have done. But how about the high school? I'm a Calvert Hall guy, and I think about that Calvert Hall lacrosse dynasty that's going on, and the seniors who aren't going to get or will never get to get that. Are they going to have football this year? And soccer. And,
by the way, I brought something up the other day. It's crazy. The Hall of Fames are both a couple of weeks out, and like, I can't even figure out, like, if they've canceled it, if they're doing it online. Like, I literally went searching. I'm like, we're 3 weeks out. I mean, I know we're not going to have 5,000 people show up in Canton and like that, but are those dudes doing it, like, online? What's happening here? You know what I mean? Like, these are all the normal things in my calendar. I sort of knew the Heritage Fair wasn't going to happen, like, 2 months ago, right? But it's still... It wasn't normal on the weekend where I wasn't having fried dough, And
how about a political nerd like me? What about the party conventions? I mean, that's like watching the Olympics every 4 years, It's like a massive thing, and what's it going to look like? And they don't even know, Like they try to know, but they don't, and so we don't.
And we don't know. I mean, no, I don't know. And part of this for baseball and football is I'm trying to look at this as like, look, I'm the sports guy, right? Like, this is all I've ever done. The reason I have Chicken Palooza on my mind at Royal Farms here is because I do sports, right? And I've morphed this thing to having more folks like you that have, worn the big boy pants and served other people as a delegate, and now serving people on behalf of your constituents and trying to get people what they deserve and people to get screwed screwed in Essex, they call you and say, come defend me and come help me. And so we all have our role in all of this, but I'm trying to figure out what sports' role in this is, because it was such a huge, I mean, it defines who I am, right? Like, in every way, I'm the sports guy, we're the sports station, and now sports has been taken away, and I don't want to find myself being the cheerleader to say it shouldn't come back, but I think they're making, to use the word grave mistake, like to say it's a grave mistake would mean somebody would die, but yeah, I think they're making a grave mistake. Right? I think this is not smart in any way, because I'm a Tony Robbins guy, right? Like, know your outcome, right? What is your outcome really? A Super Bowl in Tampa and 32 teams and doing this without having Bob Kraft get COVID and die in the middle of, like literal. Yeah, I mean, how are you going to keep men away from other men breathing on each other? There's nowhere else in our society, Todd, where we would tell 22 grown men to take their masks off and go wrestle in a mud pit with a pigskin and come out of it to win a silver thing while they go home to their wives and families for the next 4 to 6 months, where their kids are going off to elementary school and getting God knows what and bringing it home, and they're going to take their temperature at the door every day in Owings Mills. Like, if you have watched any of this and think that that's going to work, I mean, you're just out of your mind. I don't know what to say. You don't understand the virus.
What's problematic for me, and I don't know how to think about it. I don't know whether they can do it or not. I've sort of given up on prognosticating, but we're going to be denied the cathartic sports comeback, right? When they dribble it back, it's not going to be like the Saints on Monday night after Katrina or the Yankees after September 11th. It's not going to be that we made it moment, of unity, because it'll have dribbled back in. It won't come back all at once with the packed stadiums, and therefore, sports is at its greatest when it is cathartic and when it does sort of bring us all together for a dumb game amidst a tough world, And I fear missing out on that. Having said it, I'm going to be watching the Orioles, in 2 weeks, and I can't wait.
Well, and that being said, of all these baseball teams, the Aroldis Chapman thing comes out. Markakis says no thank you, right? And we're watching the Taiwanese, and we're watching South Korea, and we're watching Adam Jones play over in Osaka, right, Todd? So, I see that this is happening in other places. I'm trying to figure out where the fulfillment in this is, other than they are conducting business. And it certainly feels that way to me, in a way that probably isn't very safe. And for that, I would say, what business would open right now and say, we're going to purposely be unsafe about how we do this? I
think that's a bit of a charge. Like, you're right about it, that the motivation doesn't seem to be anything other than getting back to business in the best way. But haven't we all been doing that? I mean, we've done it around here at the law office. Everybody is.
But you wear a mask and stay 6 feet away.
Sure. We do what we can, but we come online the way we can come online. Schools are going to have to figure out how they come online.
But look at bars being closed down in Ocean City and East Baltimore, right? Like that's the Green Bay Packers. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. That's been some of these MLS teams. Like, right from the early going, to think that this is going to go well when we start opening 10,000 schools. I mean, I just think there's a real foolish debate going on about reopening that we're having. Opening Disney World on a day when the highest spike in the world in the history of this entire virus happened the same day. Like, what are you thinking?
What they're thinking, if I may play devil's advocate, everything is presumed that on New Year's Day we're all going to take a vaccine and then get back to normal next year. This could be 5 years. This could be the rest of history. It doesn't. They don't have to come up with a vaccine, or a treatment. Like, it could just be the way it is. And so, what are we going to do? Are we never going to go to school again? Are we never going to play football again? I'm not rushing to reopen. I'm not flaunting it or anything like that.
You're not liberating Minnesota? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not liberating Minnesota, I see it, and I'm afraid as everybody else is, but going to have to play football at some point, You know,
The
we're
weird
going to
part
have
for
to.
baseball for me as a business, like 10 of these teams are going to lose money that don't even want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, what is really in this for the Orioles? You know what I mean? Other than
Yeah.
having you come to Masson, the first 22 times until they're, 7 and 14 or whatever. They're only 60 games for crying out loud,
And it
right?
could be really ugly too. That National League East is a monster. Like it's not like they got an easy road.
Well, that's my
ahead of them.
point. You're going to want it to start until it does, and then Chris Davis is going to have COVID, and then some relief pitcher's going to have it, and then somebody's going to say, my wife got it, and I need to be home with her. Like, all of that's going to happen, man. My kids went to school and got it September 8th, right? Like, and you're going to make it so far, but you're not going to make it to the end. And that's what I mean about knowing your outcome. Like, you're in the greatest position. Tell everybody what you do, by the way. I want to give you a little breath because part of what you do is somebody brings a case in and you're like, this is a goofy case. We can't win this. This isn't even a case. And I'm sure you've had to say that to some people in Essex from time to time,
we
right?
do, and that is a very valuable part of what we do. We are a free consultation. So if you don't have a case and you call us, we're going to let you know that you don't have a case. And I would say that is the case, maybe not as often as the alternative, but certainly frequently.
A lot of people are mad as hell and really can't do anything about it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of you have to have grounds. There's a big undercurrent of or a belief, I guess, that there's these crazy frivolous lawsuits and people are out there, but the reality is it's hard to bring a successful action. And you can't really do it yourself with any great level of success. And just because you feel like you've been wronged doesn't mean you've been wronged by someone's negligence sufficient to collect a verdict from them or elicit a settlement from them. It's not always the case. So,
well, I mean, I got screwed by
a
business a couple of years ago, and I've done business on handshakes and on valid contracts in all sorts of ways, but this is somebody I had been in business with for a long time, and then 5-6 months later didn't want to pay the bill, refused this, that, the other, politics. I mean, I'm pissed, but there's nothing I can do about it. You know what I mean? I feel like I have a case, maybe a public case to shame them or whatever, and I think that we've gotten into that world too. Really, the public shaming is the ounce of blood you can that you can extract from the from nothing, literally, right?
Yeah. Now swing the door the other way. The reason we do the free consultations is we want to make those decisions. Don't predetermine that you don't have a case.
Sure.
Come in, sit in my office. Find out if you have a case, and if you do, it's not going to cost you anything on the front end. We're your partners in that. That's the beauty of what we do. It is because I don't chase people for bills. It's kind of a neat area of the law. I don't bill by the hour, and I don't have to chase anybody for the bills. When the recovery comes, we share in it. We're your partner in the effort to collect from the individual who has wronged you, and that makes for a good relationship, at least between our clients and ourselves.
And you go to the website, Damn Good Lawyer. Todd Schuler, former delegate, my pal, along with Mark Miller. Why does Mark hide from me? This is usually
he walked in the door 2 minutes before you called. I said, Nestor's about to call. Let's put him on speaker. Let's chat him up. He's a curmudgeon. But he's a damn good lawyer.
Well, Mark is my childhood friend. We've known each other forever and traveled in sports and all that stuff. But Todd is the loquacious. You're almost like Penn and Teller. Like one of you talks.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, unless he's talking to a jury, he's not talking, But
410-687-7878. I want to bring it full circle to what how I led into this, which was the baseball players and the owners and the TV networks and their sponsors, they are the partnership. Does anyone think they're going to get to a World Series on November the 8th that looks and feels anyway normal enough to sell it, normal enough to normalize it, normal enough to not have 3 teams go by the wayside and have some unfortunate third base coach die? I mean, I'm just like, I don't know what they're thinking, and I guess that's part of the partnership to know the outcome. That when Roger Goodell and Bob Kraft and Steve Bisciotti say to Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh and make up any player, Calais Campbell and Lamar Jackson, that we're all going to do this and we're all going to get to the end of this, and we're all in this together, and this is a good idea. I don't know, bro.
Well,
There's too many people in that room to have. There are too many people thinking like Nick Markakis in that room. Start with that say it's not for me, and then there's other people that say, well, like me, that would just say, look, I'm in the sports business. I want you to play. Go play. I'll talk about it. I'll watch it. I may or may not get on a plane to Houston to come watch you play. I may or may not win a PSL lottery to have a ticket, but. How are you getting to the end? Where is your outcome that you feel in any way you're going to be able to conduct a full season in any sort of way with integrity that's going to make this worthwhile?
I don't know. I hope they can, though. Have you not spent 6 months wanting to break things every time you see a Tennessee Titans logo? I mean, we might have the best football team in the league, and it might be that way for a decade. And with the San Diego loss early, dumping Lamar out of the playoffs, with the Titans loss, dumping Lamar out of the playoffs, I got to get that guy back to the playoffs so I can see what he can do.
That's no reason to have, his teammates come down with COVID. I just keep making the other part of this argument that I just don't understand what they're doing because I don't think they can be successful doing it. And it's not because I'm a naysayer. It's because I've watched this for 6 months.
But
that's all.
Boy, to lose a season of him, like right now, to let other people catch up to anything other than watch him play will be or could be a disaster. Not a disaster on the scale of what everybody's going through and economically and health-wise, but personally, man, I'd just like to see that guy get out there and play.
I'm with you. Todd Schuler's here. Blondell Miller Schuler, damngoodlawyer.com. The way to find them, they're down in Essex, along with my friends at Pizza John's and Al's Seafood and lots of other compadres down on that side of town. I wanted to ask you on this side of things, seeing the summer and where we are right now and the heat out and the beaches, and where do you feel like things are coming back to some semblance of normal? What has been normal about your life this summer?
Golf has been pretty normal.
Okay.
Yeah, or golf and reading, again, more in this summer than in ever before, but that's a good place to feel normal. You wear your mask into the clubhouse, you pay for your golf, and then you and the folks that you came with, who you probably spend time with regularly anyway, are out. I take my kid, and he's going to be 10 here in a minute, and that's just a fun place to go feel normal. And you're right, they're few and far between, but at least that's a good refuge, I guess.
My wife and I went for a ride the other day. We got some peach bread, and we came back through Highlandtown. It was Sunday morning early, and you know what? We just parked the car at Patterson Park and just sat on the park bench in Patterson Park watching the squirrels and had some peach bread and coffee. You know what I mean? Right. And we didn't have to wear a mask. There was nobody around. We're in the middle of the park. And I was like, all right, at least for those 30, 40 minutes under the sun, breeze blowing in the wind, that's normal. That's as good as it's going to get right now.
Yeah, you got to kind of just take what you can, right? Isn't that we were talking about it around the office this morning. But you're just kind of stuck. We're just kind of getting through this,
Well, my wife has been doing yoga. We have been cooking at home a lot with all sorts of interesting foods and all sorts of mixed up stuff that we've never cooked at home. And
another great fun normal, by the way. Yeah, cooking a fun meal.
We've been doing a lot of that, right? So we've been going long walks, and we have to wear the mask on, when people are around or whatever. But I'm trying to get into things that can be normal, and I think we want football and baseball baseball to be normal, but even when I watch it, it doesn't feel normal when they're like cutouts of SpongeBob, in Korea. That's not normal to me. And I don't know that it's going to be it's not normal watching these fungos from Camden Yards every night. It's not normal.
It can feel like it can almost make it hurt worse, like looking at the shadow of sports or the if you've been out to restaurants, outdoor dining, I'm sure, but like when the waitress or waiter comes around in the mask and you're outside, you're just kind of aware that this isn't, there's my spots that I love to hit, and I just feel good when I get there, and I know I'm out with my family, and I'm going to see some folks that, are from the neighborhood or whatever that are also out with the family. Like, then you go in this sort of clinical, situation, and it's like
you want to dive in and like hug them, hand bump, shake, thank, kiss, whatever you do with them, and then you get to that 5.5 foot. You're like, hold on. It's like
yeah. But the being close, the baseball with the cardboard cutouts in the stands, it almost makes you miss baseball more, Like,
well, people have been watching these Lamar Jackson highlight reels from last year and sharing. I'm like, I can't even think in terms of that. Like if they start playing football, I still will be the guy saying, you can start it, but let me know when you're going to finish it. You know what I mean? Because if you can't finish it, don't start it. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm really, really stuck on this, Todd, is that I don't really believe they're going to finish it. Therefore, and I'm thinking, you guys are smart people. What are you doing? Why don't you come up with a better plan than this? This isn't a good plan.
How about the NFL too? Is generally like 32 evenly balanced teams, different colors, different cities, but they all kind of are the same basically. What about college football? Like 90% of everything related to college football has nothing to do with what's going on the field, like the midshipmen doing the push-ups and ringing the bell at Georgia and, the Auburn pledges.
Iowa with the kids' hospital, right?
Yeah, the kids wave. Yeah, I mean, like all of that, all of the tradition around college football has stuff to do with football, but it's not necessarily the most important part of it. So are they going to be playing these? Like, to me, the NFL can play in an empty stadium, and it's going to be great. Like I say, it's more of a cookie-cutter experience. So, like,
everybody prefers watching it on television to begin with, right?
If I go to a Ravens game a year, that's probably my
I love
upper
going
limit.
to the games. I'm going to miss that, and I don't know. I miss a lot of things, but I'm trying to, like you, focus on the things that I'm still getting to do and enjoying. And I think for all of us, that is the sanity in all of this, right? So what books are you reading? I need some summer reading here, especially if they're not going to play baseball through all this.
So great high school football book. I'm just getting to the end of. It's about Aliquippa in western Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's called Playing Through the Whistle, I think it's called.
Is that S.L. Price's book?
S.L. Price.
I'm going to have S.L. on the show this week. I threw him a note.
Tell him I love his book. I'm just getting to the end. Like I say, it's kind of a read. It's a few hundred pages, but not only does it trace, Mike Ditka and Darrelle Revis and, all these great athletes that come through this tiny little steel town, but it's also like a labor history. It's a racial history. It's a steel history, an industry history. Like you really dive in. You really live and die with this town for 100 years. As it goes from like steel company town to a shell of its former self, and continues to crank out these, NFL stars on a clip. Besides the Snoop Dogg school out in California, that's name eludes me, which is 7 times its size. Like NFL prospects come out of this tiny little, nowhere.
San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic for baseball players.
Exactly.
Well, S.L. Price did it 2 years ago. You can check it out. It's up on our WNST TV channel. He did a long piece with me about that book, and I will get him back on to talk about that because that was sort of the beginning of when Trump took over like 4 years ago, and all of that. So, yeah. He is on the top of my list because I love having him on the program. So I will reach to him. And that is a great book, and it's on my bookshelf as well.
Yeah, I'll for sure dig into your archives on that because one of my favorite things to do when I finish a book is to then read on. You know, if it was a true story, I want to know about that. You know, I want to play on Wikipedia for the next couple of days and find out how this really ended or things like that. You know, I love digging further into a book that I've finished, and yeah, so that'll be a fun way to do that, is to hear you chat up the author.
You know what? I did a couple of pieces with him. I'm making sure I'm sending you the right one, but I just Facebooked it to you. He is Todd Schuler. They are damngoodlawyer.com. You can find them out on the web there. You can drive by Eastern Avenue, see them anytime at Blondell, Miller, Schuler. 410-687-7878. Your Maryland workers' compensation lawyers and good pals of mine as well. Any other elevator speech for the law firm you want to give me here in the hot summer days of July?
Just that, look, we spent 3 months with nobody working and nobody driving around and getting car crashes. So feel free to call now. You know, we're here, and we're excited to get. We're coming back online with courts, and we're coming back online with the Workers' Compensation Commission. You know, we're doing the best we can here. So, you know, call us. We're here.
You got it, and hang in there, man. Stay cool out there, all right? We'll see you in Essex soon. He is Todd Schuler, Blondell, Miller, Schuler. My friends, damngoodlawyer.com. Find them down in Essex, and you can find Todd and I chatting about sports and life in pandemics. And it always goes back to sports and usually eating crabs or some sort of crustacean of some kind. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Calm, local, Baltimore positive, even during Chicken Palooza. Stay with us.